The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the training session this morning. Before we get started, I would like everyone to take a moment to read over the risk disclaimer. This is for your protection as well as mine. And basically, you should never trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Any type of trading, regardless of whether you're trading futures, stocks, forex, binaries, spreads, whatever, they all have risk involved. And there's always a potential for a trade to go against you. So if you cannot afford to lose the money, then you should not be taking the trade. Okay? Now, before we get started this morning, I just want to go over the trading plan that we use so everybody is on the same page. And basically, we start out with price being at an ATR. So that is your first process, okay? Now, if price is not at an ATR, then you should not be taking the trade, okay? It has to be at an ATR. Now, with the scanner type tools that we have, it immediately identifies whether price is at the ATR. So this is actually pretty easy to follow. Also notice that there's no maybes here. It's either yes or no, okay? And that is to keep us focused on what we are supposed to be doing. So if price is at an ATR, in other words, you answered yes, then comes the question of whether you have trade alignment. Now, what is trade alignment? Well, it simply means that you have two ATRs in your direction. If you look over here on the 15-minute USD JPY, this is a great example. Now, this is not the white and the blue. Instead, you have the white and the red in your direction, okay? In this case, they are below price, indicating a long position. Does everybody understand that? Any questions on this so far? And again, notice that it is either yes or no. There are no maybes, okay? This is to prevent you from taking a trade that you should not be in, okay? So in this case, the answer was yes, price was at an ATR. Yes, we have trade alignment because we have the red and the white in your direction. And the next is, do you have stochastics confirmation? Okay, so in this case, if you draw a line on the lows, they're going up. If you draw a line on the stochastics, it's going up. So in other words, the stochastics is identifying that yes, this is probably going to go up because these are aligned in the same direction. Now, it could have been that the stochastics came down lower. In that case, you would have had hidden divergence. Again, it would be confirmation that the market was going to move up. Again, what direction would you enter? Well, the ATRs are below price, so that immediately identifies that you would have a long position. Okay, now this is also one that I wanted to point out this morning because you did have that blue ATR right up above you. What does that mean? Well, to me, this is what it means. By the time you could have entered this trade, you were at 110.70, okay? But you are going into a resistance area that is 8 pips away. Could you make money with that 8 pips? It depends on what you're trading. With the binaries, you would have made a little bit. You wouldn't have made the full profit potential. But on the Forex side, you would have paid a pip in and a pip out. So that would have left you with 6 pips if you came out right at the ATR. Does everybody understand that? Any questions on that? Can everyone hear me this morning? Making sure we have a pulse in the room today. Hey, Mika. Okay, so basically you've got step 1, step 2, and then step 3. Okay? Now, it seems easy, I realize that, but it's probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Okay? It's just the way it goes. As easy as I can make it seem, when you start doing it on your own, it will be quite difficult. Now, this was on the USD JPY, and I just saw that as the trading room was starting, so I wanted to show it to you, okay? Does it just work on the USD JPY? No, it works on just about any market you could possibly want. For example, right now, if you're looking at the 3-minute chart, you can see that we have went up. We have the white ATR is below price, the cyan is below price, and so is this blue one. So here you are within 10 ticks of the ATR, okay? This is where I start looking for a trade entry. Now, in this one, is the stochastics confirming your trade? No, in fact, the stochastics is telling you you are oversold at the moment. Does everybody see that? I do not want to go into a market where I'm overextended. Okay, sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. All right, and as you can see, I mean, this is retracing. This is the purpose of the stochastics. Look at the ADX. It's got a magenta peak. What does a magenta peak mean? It means that more likely than not, price is going to pull back to the ATR. In this case, the light blue, the cyan, is where you would expect price to pull back to. Now, I think that will pull up to the white ATR at 2603. Does everybody understand that? Why would I anticipate that? Just because I know how the ATR works. Now, you'll also see in the market analyzer, okay, on the ES, prices at an ATR. This is what I was talking about. We tell you when it is there, okay? So in this case, you can see, okay, price is at the ATR. You have the blue ATR in your favor. Now, if you're just trading this 3-minute chart by itself, you're probably going to be enticed into taking it about here. So, and I'm going to do this in demo mode. And we're just going to buy one on the ES. And where would you set your stop? Oh, it's a great question. because I believe it's going to have to come under this low, which is going to make it about 2803.75. Okay. Now, I don't particularly like this setup because I like using higher time frames. And the higher time frame over here is indicating, and this is a 12-minute chart, and this is indicating to me that the market is overextended over on the 12-minute chart. Well, guess what? We just went long. Does everybody understand that? This is one of the reasons I like using the multiple time frames. Any questions on this so far? You can also see, using the volume, that buyers actually stepped in on that last bar. But again, you're going to be fighting your higher time frame. Now, is that the only trade that we have? Well, probably not. If we go and I think maybe it was the Russell that was at an ATR2. Again, you're seeing the same setup. And if we pull back the trading plan over here, okay, price at an ATR, yes. Do you have trade alignment? Yes. Okay. Do you have stochastics confirmation? In this case, there was no stochastics confirmation. There was on this one, but not on this one. Okay. The magenta peak also suggested a retracement back to the ATR. Yes, it did, Mike. The magenta peak here said we were coming down to the ATR, which we did do. Okay. At the moment, we do not have hidden divergence, but you are going into a market that's overextended. On the 3-minute chart, I'm still questioning it because of the 12-minute. Now let's go see what the Dow is doing. And usually you'll get pretty much the same setups across the board. Again, the magenta peak here just tells us we're coming back to the ATR. I would really like to see this one touch the blue ATR. Over here, you've got volume divergence with a market that is overextended to the upside. You could expect a retracement down to about 25,988. That's what I would be anticipating, especially because it just flipped that ATR. Does everybody see that? Okay, so we did have a stop put in on the ES, so we do have a stop over here. Now, let's say that you didn't notice over here that you were overextended and you were already in this trade. You have one of two options. You can, and this is the one I usually do, I just move my stop up, put it one tick below where the dot is at 2804.75. This way, it gives you the potential for this to move up in your direction, and I will continue to move this stop up as the market moves up. Eventually, I'll get to break even. You know, in that way, if you did enter by mistake, it does give you a method for saying, okay, well, it could work in my favor. So instead of just taking a loss, I'll see if I can at least cover the cost of the trade. In this case, you're risking, less than a point. Not bad. On the forex side, I'm just going to bring the window over. Will be the easiest thing to do. You can see we have a lot of markets that are at an ATR. And I'm going through these one by one to see if there is any that I'm interested in. And right now I'm not seeing any. Now I'm going to pull this up to where I'm at break even. So now I've covered the cost of my trade. Now this one I'm going to show because you can see you're at an ATR and you do have the ATR confirmations, okay? In other words, you have the trade alignment, but the stochastics here is not confirming this trade because remember, you're trying to go short, okay? The stochastics is turning to the upside. Do you really want to go short with the stochastics turning to the upside? I don't. Let's see. On the US CAD, while I'm thinking about it, tomorrow morning we'll be trading the rate announcement on the US CAD. I think we're going to start at 9:45. Now, the rate announcement is creating, huge, huge moves on the Canadian. And I trade that with binary options or spreads, sometimes a combination of them. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow morning. Now, you can see that I just got stopped out of that, but it did not cost me anything. I covered the cost of my trade. Do y'all see that? In other words, instead of panicking because I didn't notice that the 12-minute was overextended, this has actually got trend divergence on it. I said, okay, I'm going to manage the trade, okay? Because I opted to manage the trade, I actually was able to cover the cost of my trade. Now, let's take this back off. You can also see it's telling me that I'm overbought on the NASDAQ 12-minute chart. I'm also overbought on the Russell 3-minute, but not the 12-minute. It's not registering it for the 12-minute. Now, what would I be looking for on this one? I would like to see a retracement down to this blue ATR, the cyan, at 1602. Then I would have trade alignment. We're not overextended over here. This is pretty much retracing the wide bar, which is this magenta bar here on the 12-minute chart. Let's see if it gets down to 1602. And also, if you're looking at this, you can see on the 45-minute this morning at 8:30 that we had hidden divergence here. These are generally the types of setups that I actually look for on the 3-minute or the 12-minute. And that was actually identifying to go long on the Russell before the market even opened. Um, we do have the Dow at the ATR. Again, just look at your market analyzer and it tells you. And again, do you have trade alignment? Yes, you do. The one thing that would prevent me from taking the trade is, again, over here on the 12-minute chart. You can see that you're overextended. You also have volume divergence on the highs. I would anticipate this coming back to this area before I would want to enter this market. Right now, we're just waiting. If y'all have any questions, now's a good time to ask them. I do think we're getting some reversals on the forex market while we're waiting on these to retrace. And this is part of the reason here. You can see that all of the, well, not all of them, but the British pound dollar, the euro dollar, the Aussie dollar, they were all overextended. They are now heading to the downside. I know the Aussie dollar is at an ATR on the 240. If it breaks through that ATR, we're going to see some downward movement on the Aussie dollar, potentially on the euro and on the British pound. But you also see that the US based currencies like the USD JPY, the US CAD, the US Swiss franc, they're all turning to the upside. So that could be an indication that on the forex side, we're going to start seeing downtrend on these currencies. And then on these currencies, we may start seeing some more upward movement. Now, it does, have to overcome the support and resistance that is on the higher time frame. Now, as easy as it seems to have noticed this over here, when you're looking at the charts and you get excited because it's approaching an ATR, then you could have entered that trade just like we did on the ES, okay? Which is why we tell you right here whether you're overbought or oversold. So that prevents you from making some common mistakes. It also prevents you from trying to talk yourself into a trade that doesn't exist, okay? And this is a great example this morning because we do not have anything at an ATR. I mean, the only one that we had, we decided not to enter because of the higher time frame. But this is your first criteria. Do you see anything in this column that says price at the ATR? No. That means you need to sit on your hands, which is probably the hardest thing you'll do as a trader, because you want to be in the market. You want to be making money, okay? But your trade setup is not there. And if your trade setup is not there, then you need to wait. It really is, Mike. Yeah, it's very boring to sit and look at charts and there's nothing there for you to trade. So what do? You want to jump in a trade. I mean, after all, you're a trader. You have to be a disciplined trader. And it really doesn't matter whether you've been trading for a day or 10 years. You're constantly struggling with discipline. Again, here is one, okay? If you're looking at the trade flow analysis, okay? Price is at an ATR, yes. Do we have trade alignment? You have the blue, the red, and the white all in your favor. Do you have stochastic confirmation? With this being a reversal bar, that should turn this down and it would actually confirm it. I would be in on this bar. Or you could trade the binary options. In this case, well, thank you, Mika. It makes trading a lot easier to have that trade flow. We're going to go and look at the euro dollar. And again, I'm using demo accounts this morning. Not stupid here. Let's see, 22.16 is where price is currently trading. So I would be targeting 22.14, maybe 22.10. With the market moving as it is this morning, I'd probably choose the 22.14, even though I don't like the risk on it. And for those that want to do an out of the money, you could do the 22.10, which is 7 pips, no big deal. And we'll see what that one does. Now, generally, if I'm using the out of the money, which would be the 22.10, that's a full strike out of the money. I would go in and set a profit target at either 15 or 20. Now, sometimes I'll change that depending on how the market moves. Ray, I don't do any of the Bitcoins, Do I use Nadex for all of my trades now? No, I still trade the futures, Ray. The forex, I use Nadex. Because of all the changes that they have made, Ray, in forex, there's only 2 brokers in the US, and I don't like that. So I just trade all of my forex through Nadex. And I do a lot of market reports. Like tomorrow, we have the Bank of Canada, but we also have the Aussie unemployment rate. That's good for about 50 pips. Well, the strike width is very narrow on the Aussie dollar. So I love trading the market reports. As far as Bitcoin, I don't even mess with it. I don't believe in the cryptocurrencies in general. I believe they're hackable, and I'm not putting my money into them. So while this trade works out, I'm going to go get me a cup of coffee, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. And as you can see, the Dow is breaking through the ATR. Oh, that is extremely true, Mika. I noticed that too, Mika. It's right at the ATR on the 240. Um, I think we might have enough left, maybe, to actually work this trade. I'm just not too sure. Now, on the NASDAQ, do you see how this is telling you prices at the ATR? Okay. Now, for those of you that remember, this is your Buddha trade setup between the 3 and the 45. And I'll show you why. Do you see how your ADX is at 71? That is your Buddha trade that is set up between the 3 and the 45. And we know that because there will be a magenta peak coming in on the NASDAQ 45-minute chart as soon as this bar is completed. Just about guarantee you that. And that's more of an advanced trade setup that you need to read all of your time frames for. You also see that we have a couple that are, it says price at the CD, which is the congestion dot. And that just tells me that this is right at the congestion dot. It should actually go back and test this red ATR. Still don't have a trade set up though. You have the same thing on the ES and the Dow 12-minute chart. Yeah, I don't watch the VIX. I have enough to watch, I guess. How are you doing, Stuart? Well, that's nice. We would look at something else, but really there's nothing else to look at right now. I've been through all of the forex markets and nothing is at an ATR. And if it's not at the ATR, don't even tempt yourself. Don't even look at it. And really, that's what it is. If it is not at an ATR and you're looking at it, it's tempting you. Oh, I know where this is going. I'm going to enter it. This trade flow analysis is the most basic entry. Okay. Now, in our online training videos, you'll see other entries like the Buddha trade setup. There's times I will enter when it's at a congestion dot because I know where it's going to go based on that. Those are more advanced, and it takes you a lot longer to get the advanced trade setups versus just this standard price at the ATR, trade alignment, stochastics divergence. And generally, with the stochastics confirmation, you would want to see volume divergence to support it or an ADX magenta peak that supports it. In other words, if you can get two confirmations instead of just one, that would be really cool. Again, it just adds to it. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, it just went back to the ATR on the 45-minute chart. Let me see if I can, Mika. If I can remember where I put it, I probably can. Let me just save it to my desktop, and then I can upload it for you, Mika. Okay. Mika, do you have PowerPoint? Because it's in PowerPoint. Yeah, you should always watch out for the 12-minute, especially for it to be overbought or oversold. Let me see. Okay. Let's see. Mika, I'm going to remove that one and put up a PDF. I just saved it as a PDF, so that way you can open it up without a problem. Okay, it's up there now. You're welcome, Mika. All right, now you're going to have some issues because you need to break this ATR to go down to the ATR on the 180. You do have a magenta peak that's come in on the 180. You're also overextended to the upside, okay? But you're going to go into a support area on the 45 minute. Not a good trade setup. Let's go look at the Dow to see if maybe there's room, okay? Do you see how the Dow has already broke through that? Okay, this is where we're expecting a retracement back to the ATR at 26,018. So this is the market I would prefer to trade because I would want to see a retracement and then bam, it will come down. Do y'all understand that? Let's keep this one over here. But this is where we have to sit and wait for this to set up correctly. Also see that on the Dow 3-minute chart, you're oversold. On the ADX, you've also been overextended on the stochastics. Again, this is where you have to wait, and this is the hard part about trading. It's one of the reasons that we've built the market analyzers. So you're not sitting here going, okay, I gotta wait. And pretty soon, if that's all you're doing, looking at that chart, you're going to enter. Because what will happen? The market will move without you, and you'll decide on the next time, oh, I'm just going to go in. And then it will go against you. And eventually you'll learn not to do that unless you just like repeating your mistakes. This is one of the reasons the packages, I think, are such a great tool, because not only do you get the indicators and the workspaces and the documentation, but you also get the videos and the trade flow analysis for different setups, so that you can say, okay, I know I cannot enter this. It's a way of making you be disciplined in your trading. One of the clients that I'm mentoring right now, I've got him capturing his screenshots. You don't hear me talk about that a lot, but it's something that I still do, because it holds you responsible for your trades. And when you go back and you start reviewing it, you're going, oh my God, that's why I lost money. I didn't pay attention. It's, in my opinion, it's very important to capture your trade, not only on entry, but also on exit. If you're capturing it after the fact, you've got more information than what you had when you went into the trade, which is why I recommend doing it on entry. Now, for everyone that's already signed up for this morning's webinar, you will not have to sign up for tomorrow's webinar. You'll automatically get a link to join tomorrow morning. And also on the market analyzer, on the scanner for multi-charts, and on the TradeStation radar screen, you can even program these alerts to go to your email, your smartphone, whatever you want to do. That's the reason I don't sit at the computer all day anymore. I just have them going to my phone, so I know what I need to look at. And I have mine set generally on the 3-minute. If it comes within 5 ticks of that ATR, it's showing me an alert. On the forex, generally I have it on a 15-minute, so I set it for a 10-minute alert. Not a 10-minute, I'm sorry, 10 pip. I just caught myself. That just gives me time to go in and analyze it. You do have the NASDAQ at the ATR. Again, it's showing you here. This column is telling me it's 3 ticks of the ATR. It's right on the ATR now. So I can look at this and say, okay, is this one I want to enter or not? And no, because we're coming down to this ATR. The Russell, same thing. You're at the ATR. You're 3 ticks from the ATR. Again, you're coming down to this ATR. So I would not want to take a long position knowing that I'm retracing back to 1598.5. Remember, I told you that it would come down to the congestion dot, and then typically it goes back to test this ATR. Well, that's what you see here. It makes that little zigzag there. And this one, you could see on the RSI, you had trend divergence there. You could have entered here knowing that this is coming down to the ATR. Again, that's an advanced trade setup. We call it the Buddha trade. But you very well could have entered that one. You also see you had no buy-in volume at that point either. Where is it likely to go? To this ATR. That's the magenta peak rule. Now, sometimes you won't have enough room for profits. On this one, there was about a little over 3 points before you hit that ATR. So you had plenty of room for profits on that one. And this is the same pattern that we're seeing over and over and over again, regardless of whether you're on forex or futures or even stocks. It's going to be the same thing. When you're trading the Buddha trade setup, you don't have to have the trade alignment. Why? Because you're counter trend trading a higher time frame using the smaller time frame. Again, you're at the ATR on the 12 minute, but this is pushing down to the ATR on the 45 minute. I would not be taking a long position on that. Now, there is no trade set up over here on the 3 minute. but you could potentially enter it off of the 12-minute. Again, you have 2 ATRs in your favor, and that last bar actually saw this one. The buyers actually step in. Now this one, you're at the ATR on the 45-minute chart. You can see that it's already went to the ATR. And in this case, on a 12-minute chart, you're going to be risking right at 2 points on that. It would be better if you had the reversal bar. You do have volume divergence. On the 3-minute, you're also overextended, but this needs to continue up to 1604 at the moment. I am going to put a stop in case I get distracted, which I'm likely to do. And I'm going to actually take that up to 0.2. And that one got stopped out of. Now you're at the ATR on the 12-minute chart NASDAQ. Actually, you're at the congestion dot. You still have a lot of selling volume in there. In fact, they came in on that last bar. Wonder. Mm-mm. We're waiting on something to show up under the price to the ATR 3-minute chart. This blue ATR here is representing the 45-minute. The red is the 180. The white is the 12-minute. And the cyan in the bright red is actually the 3-minute. This just enables you to see all of the ATRs on one screen. I might have forgot to tell you that. You should be getting a magenta peak on the 3-minute NASDAQ. And there's your magenta dot on the 3-minute. It just tells you it should go up to about 68.18. I expect it to be 68.15. Again, today is a great day to learn patience. And you can see in the market analyzer, the magenta peaks came in across the board on the 3-minute chart. And now notice that the euro is overextended to the upside. Notice how it flipped that ATR. This is where you expect it to go up and then come back down. Okay. The question is, how many bars will it take to do this? There's still 36 minutes in the binary, and we're currently at 22:10 and 22:14. So the question is, will it get to these two lines prior to that? You also see that you are now oversold on the ES and on the Dow. And that's on the 12-minute chart. It actually tells you that right here on the tab. And that simply tells me that it will be a while before we get a trade set up. And your biggest problem right now is going to be exactly what happened on the 3-minute will normally duplicate over here on the 12-minute. So you see it move down, found support at the congestion dot. So it goes back to test the ATR, finds resistance, and then it moves down. Well, over here, it has moved down, came to the congestion dot, and then it should move up to test for resistance before moving down again. And this is going to be a while. It's probably going to be this afternoon, actually. Does anybody have any questions about the indicators, the packages, the books, training? We have about 33 minutes until expiration on the euro, which is what I'm waiting on. If y'all have any questions, now is a great time to ask them. I'm more than willing to answer them for you. You mean the blue and the red, Mike? Yes, I do. That's part of the trend indicator. Now, this indicator on the 15-minute chart is just the ATR support and resistance, which is why it does not color the bars. It simply gives us the ATR and congestion values from the 3 different time frames. And actually, I'm doing 4 time frames with the NinjaTrader version, because the bright red and the cyan is the 3-minute, the white is the 12, the darker blue is the 45, and the darker red is the 180. So I can pretty much look at the 3-minute and tell you where all of the support and resistance is. You can't do that in multi-charts or TradeStation. You can do it in NinjaTrader. It was easier to write that code for NinjaTrader versus multi-charts in TradeStation. In each of the trading platforms, they have their strengths and their weaknesses. That's my dog snoring. She likes to watch me trade. But even the markets are putting her to sleep today. I'm telling you, she does. She's making me sleepy. see. You just got a magenta peak over here on the ES 12-minute chart. Not real interested in that one. We were looking at the NASDAQ already. Again, this is just not a good setup. You're overextended to the short side here, and here you're at an ATR that would be going short. Not a good trade setup. And if we go down to the Russell, well, that was the Russell. No, it wasn't. The Russell would have been okay to take. I was a little bit late on it. I would have preferred to have been in here. Since that wasn't the case, I'll just go ahead and enter now. My price is going to be off because you should have been in at 1600, which is about a point off from where we are now. I generally do not have update intrabar on in NinjaTrader. In this case, I wanted to see it because I wanted to make sure the stochastics was coming down. And of course it is.
Order pending.
All I did was put in a stop in case I get distracted, which I'm prone to do. I'm actually looking for this to come down here to 1596.4. That's where the congestion dot is over on the 45-minute chart, which is about here. And my entry was off just about 2 points, actually. I'm going to move this down to break even, so now I know I don't have any risk on the table. Coming down to 1592 would be even better. That would be this red ATR. There's some profit taking going on right now. You can see the delta flip to the upside. Now it's back below zero. And again, that's just people taking profits off of their entry back here. Now, I don't think there is any way the euro-dollar binaries can work in our favor. So I'm going to get rid of that window so I can watch these. I would really prefer to see this price bar close beneath 1596.4 because that would invalidate the congestion dot over on the 45-minute chart. Now you're at the point of being overextended here. I'm trying to wait to see if sellers actually step in on this bar. See how they're stepping in on that 3-minute? Remember I was telling you it was a profit-taking opportunity. And now I can actually move my stop down just a little bit closer. You're just about one tick, I think, off of that one. So, yeah, you're sitting about one tick off of it. This is what I anticipated. That usually happens after a profit-taking opportunity. So you had sellers' divergence to the upside immediately followed by sellers stepping back in on the high. Do y'all see that? Mark that in your books because you don't see that a lot. Not doing a live trading room anyway. She is sleeping so good today. Do you see how this delta is blue, but the price bar is saying, no, I don't think so. Because you have a strong bar to the downside. That means that, again, that was just profit taking, nothing more. And it gives me a chance to move my stop down. And again, one of the reasons, remember when I was saying earlier, 2 confirmations? Well, in this case, and this is just what I was thinking as I was trading this, you are overextended on the stochastics, but you have no magenta bars here. What would cause the price bar to go up to the ATR? A magenta peak. Well, there's no magenta bars here. Does everybody see that? And I'm really wanting it to come down to 1592. Sorry about that. I'm really wanting it to come down to here. But I'm trailing it so that I don't lose all of my profits while still providing an opportunity for price to move in my direction. Does everybody understand that? Could you take profits now? Sure. I just think we're going to get at least one more down bar. That's just my opinion here. Now I'm going to move my stop down again. So if they suddenly reversed it, then they would take me out. In other words, I want it to continue straight down. I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive and pull it down a little bit more. I'm still really kind of flirting with that congestion dot that's on the 45-minute chart.
Order filled.
And I'm out. Any questions on that trade? If not, that's it. We did make up for the loss by taking that one trade, even though I was late to the game. I should have been in at 1601. Instead, I was in at 1599.6 and managed to capture just a little bit over 2 points. 2.3 to be exact. Any questions? Well, thank you, Mika. I tried to call you through the holidays, but I got your voicemail. I was going to wish you happy holidays. Oh, you're welcome, Dave. Ah, now you've really made me jealous, Mika. Hawaii, and you didn't even ask me to go? Oh my gosh. Did you go to Honolulu? How long was your flight, Mika? Yeah, just can't do that flight, man. That's a long flight. I'm getting to the point I don't even want to fly anymore. It's pretty bad. All right. I hope everyone has a wonderful day today. 6.5 to Hawaii from Phoenix. That's not bad from Phoenix. All right. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Remember, tomorrow we will be having a special session at 9:45 to trade the Bank of Canada rate announcement. Oh, it would be extremely painful for me. All right. Everybody have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.